What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Get the Bag podcast. I am your host, Claudia Castro. Got my co-host, Tim Park. What's going on? We're in December. Isn't that
I
crazy?
know already.
And
What's up, fam?
what's going on? We have a really exciting episode for you. This will be nice, short, and sweet. Something that kind of popped up and on social media and kind of inspired us to have this conversation. But before we get all into that, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on all social media outlets. We're always here on every week, spilling some type of gems, either having a guest on or talking about some trendy topics like today's topics. But we always support and appreciate, I should say, all the support that we receive from you guys as we go on throughout this, finalizing this year, which is crazy.
I know, right?
But but in today's episode, what we really wanted to touch upon is something that even from the moment we got started into real estate to what's happening now is I think we call it analysis paralysis, but we're calling it real estate guru madness, unmasking conflicting advice. Not to say that we talk about gurus. These are people who are promptly successful in their own right, right, in
Yeah.
whatever kind of avenue they've gone through, and there's many others. But this conversation kind of got stirred up from a Instagram post I saw. Um, I think that it talked about like different gurus that pop up, like social media be like, and it kind of went through all of the real estate gurus and that
Mm-hmm.
say one thing and contradict each other, and that can be confusing for somebody. And maybe their goal is to take a vulnerable audience, right, or person, and have
Yeah, I
them buy
know.
their course or invest in their fund or whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you. So
Yeah.
I, I think it's a common thing that happens. That is happening, confuses people, and I think it makes people not want to do anything or not start anywhere because it's just
Yeah.
too much information.
Yeah. 100%. I think the gurus out there are maybe have a alternative kind of revenue stream in regarding pushing to their course, and this is how it's supposed to be. And I think a lot of them are, the market's changing. They have older content out there on social media or what they're trying to push for their course right now. And I think it's a lot of wrong information for someone trying to get into real estate, because of course interest rates are high. They're not sure what to do next. So I think it's just confusing for a lot of people. So it's just kind of going through the minutia of what's the real motive, one, for the gurus, two, are they really wanting to help people out, and then three, what is the right information for someone getting into real estate or different aspects of real estate.
Yeah, I totally agree. And just to kind of go over what the post was, it mentioned social media be like, and it mentioned the likes of Cardone, which is his message is don't buy a house. Then you have Chris Cron, buy a house. Ryan Pineda. I mean, you have Chris Jefferson, right? Everyone wholesale houses. Uh, Doc Nguyen, use FHA loan. Chris Cron again says don't use FHA. Um, Robo Kiyosaki, house is a liability. Then Tak Nguyen says house is an asset. Grant Cardone start with 32 units. Richard Garcia start with 2 units. Bigger pockets, invest in Airbnb. Richard Garcia, don't invest in Airbnb. Peter Harris, buy a 5+, not a 4-plex, meaning commercial, not residential. Grant Cardone, don't buy silver. Robo Kiyosaki, buy silver. Dave Ramsey, buy with 100% cash. Grant Cardone always used that. And that's not even like covering everybody. Like we have Pace Morby, that's like by creative, right?
Right.
You have a ton of other professionals because they have their niche. Like nobody's gonna
Hmm.
do everything, and when you're marketing out to
Exactly.
people, you have a specific niche or audience that you're targeting. And so these specific people, like Grant Cardone, is targeting people that maybe don't want to buy a house, or can't afford a house, maybe, or whatever the case may be. And so this can be really conflicting, as a which is why it's kind of, for me, slowed down on checking out social media or on
Yeah.
Instagram, because it's just information overload. And I mean, I think at the time that we started, Tim, maybe
Mm-hmm.
like it was maybe the beginning, because it was sort of like COVID, right? Where
Yeah.
we were mostly home or on our phones, and that's where like the marketing, it got to us, right? We resonated with somebody, and got into wholesaling, because
Mm-hmm.
that made sense for us. So I think, especially people nowadays who are like, they feel stuck and they want to get into something, I can see it being super overwhelming and not knowing even where to start, or who's right or who's wrong. And feel like, well, am I right for going for this way, or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, as people are watching this, I think, don't get me wrong, some of these gurus are really good at what they do in their niches, but it's just what direction you want to go, and then kind of follow someone that you resonate with.
And I think for us, it was wholesaling, because for me, it was like, I don't want to spend too much money. And the way, right, like Chris pitched it, was like, you don't have to spend much money. You can get whatever you want in it. And like Tim said, whoever you resonate with, if I think kind of starting there's a lot of information overload, but just kind of first off, focus on what it is that you want to do. So I think people don't do enough of that. They
Yeah.
don't do enough of thinking, what do I want in my life?
Mm-hmm.
They just kind of coming out here in Miami and going back to kind of like a corporate world, you really can get stuck in that mindset, that rat race, where it's like every day is the
Mm-hmm.
same thing, and people like to
Right.
complain but don't do anything about it. Um, and so, I think just kind of figuring out what you want in life, ideally, like just dream for for a minute. What life what do you want, and then reverse engineer it. Do you want to go through wholesaling houses first, which we
Yeah.
talk about, that's kind of our background. But or do you want to go straight into doing the FHA, the house hacking? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
also, although interest rates are high, but um, I don't think you can go wrong with any answers. Just pick one lane and stick with it for 6 months, see how you like it, and you can always, that's the beauty of real estate, is you can take whatever experience and skills you've learned and apply it somewhere else. Like there's people who started with maybe bought investing first and then got into wholesaling, right? Because they're like, oh, I want to get active income, or I want to work on my marketing, and I can pick and choose the properties that I get, or got into creative first. So it's just pick a lane and be consistent with that, and then kind of decide for yourself what you want to do. I think that's the problem. People think they have to, you know, go to do 5 different masterminds or 5 different
Mm-hmm.
programs. And when it's just really like, no, stick to one, learn how to make money on one bucket, right? And then you can multiply from there. I think
Right.
that's the biggest issue.
Um, yeah, I think that's totally the right approach, and I think people overthink things, and as they shouldn't. So I think when you're going into real estate and wanting to start, not kind of overthinking like what direction you should go. I think you should pick at least one avenue, whether you get your license, or you want to wholesale, or you want a house hack, and then find, I think, someone that has a great community, and you're seeing people, other people push that particular mentor, or guru, or whatever you want to call them. Then I think that's where you can resonate, because I know the community that we when we joined, it's that's kind of that's what helped us, right? And I think that's an important factor too when you're thinking about getting into something as well too. So
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Tim, because That's why I said I think join one program, and then as you start to understand the concept, right, then you can kind of open things up. So I think whether you start, with Pace Morby's group or community, his community is amazing. From what I hear, all the amount of value that you're given
Yeah.
um, is incomparable. The same way with Chris Jefferson's program as well. I think it's just investing time, investing in
Yeah.
yourself. That's the
Yeah.
problem. Is people don't do that enough. They don't stick around long enough. They just think it's people just want the easy way out, and I think that's where the gurus take advantage. Where it's like you
Hmm.
don't need a house, or you can do this with zero cash, or you can buy this house or buy this 5 unit with this, and people just want to look for the easy way out, which is I think natural as humans. I think
Yeah.
human beings, we always we want to look at, okay, what's the easiest way we can get to something. We don't want to work for it, because I mean, who wants to work for anything, right? That would be ideal, but you really have to put in the work at the end of the day, and figure it out as you go. So, and connect with as many people, like you mentioned, with the community, is networking, and seeing where that takes you.
Yeah.
I think that's honestly the easiest way, advice, we can probably give anybody who's watching and kind of confused with like what direction to go.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Even for me, for somebody who's been in real estate for some time now. Um, it's especially, right, even like with the knowledge we have now, and like
Right.
wholesaling and even some commercial, there's a whole next level thing that sometimes it's like, okay, I have to pick and choose what I want to focus on, like whether it be
Yeah.
development or even within development, right? There's just a lot of strategies.
Factors. Yeah. There's a lot of factors and strategies. And I think as you grow as a real estate professional, no matter what um, avenue you take, there's always going to be some kind of level of growth. I don't care if you've been in it for, you
Right.
know, 2 months or 30 years, there's always some level of growth. And I think that's why I like this industry, because there's always something different, even deal to deal, or
Right.
strategy to strategy, or asset to asset. So it just all depends on what's going on in the market, what's going on in the with your strategy. And I think it's definitely a situation where things change in real estate all the time. So, and that's one of the aspects I like about it. And
Yeah.
but
You just have to be a student, right? Like,
yeah,
never stop
absolutely.
being a student, never stop learning. I think once, and it kind of lies in like the comfort zone too. People never pick something because they're comfortable. Like, yeah, they
Right.
like to complain about it, but they don't want to do anything about it. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, what do you expect? You're going to be in the same position, so might as well get uncomfortable with something. And I try to really live in that
Right.
concept of being as uncomfortable. And sometimes I struggle with that. Sometimes it's like, no, I want to be comfortable for for these moments, but sometimes you really have to fight through that. And I think that's as we approach the end of this episode here, is embrace that uncomfortability. Pick a lane, somebody you resonate with, um, because like I mentioned, all those people on those lists are highly successful,
Yeah.
doing what they're doing, and whether it's whether their intentions are kind or not, or just strictly on
Yeah.
to take advantage. Can't speak on that, but I think at the end of the
Yeah.
day is just following what works best for you, what makes you
Mm-hmm.
happy, where you really enjoy. I think that's the biggest thing too, is like
Yeah.
ultimately enjoy and love learning, and with real estate, and really I'm sure with any other industry, you learn, if you're not learning something new every day, then maybe you're not in the right industry, or if you're not being challenged the right way,
Right.
you're in the wrong industry. So it's just about pushing yourself, um, to the point where you're just you're always learning, and never too big or
Yeah.
overly confident.
Yeah. And I think it's funny. You have to be assertive, but at the same time, you have to be humble about what you're doing, and just be open to different opportunities that open for you. So, I think if you kind of have those three things, you'll do pretty well in this industry for sure.
Absolutely. That wraps up this episode. We hope you really enjoyed it. Feel free to drop in the comments, maybe other gurus or other questions you may have, if you are kind of interested in real estate, or if there's programs that you're not sure of, and we've kind of been in this industry for some time, so we have pretty good familiarity with
Hmm.
what each guru offers, and can maybe vouch for certain people. So
Sure.
feel free to reach out for us for that. But appreciate you guys as always. We'll be back next week with another amazing episode. We'll try to grab a few guests before we end this year, but
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll connect next week. See y'all later.
All right.